Hi everyone, I hope I find you well wherever you are today. I hope you've been keeping safe, you've been staying at home, and you've been following the guidelines issued by the government in terms of how we can manage to prevent COVID-19 virus spreading. Well, lockdown, I believe it hasn't been easy for most of us. We have found ourselves in a situation where we have to change our social norms and our lifestyle, and I believe it might have taken a toll on our mental health. So I just thought I should come out here real quick and just share a few tips on how to cope under lockdown. Clearly, the lockdown has been a challenge. We found ourselves transitioning in and out of lockdown. With that came a lot of emotions. I would say mixed emotions in terms of how we adjusted, we responded to the news. Clearly, people felt sad sometimes when they had friends, family members have contracted COVID-19. There have been some celebrations where people have recovered from the virus, and I think it's important that we follow the guidelines. We take the vaccines as a way of preventing the COVID-19 spreading. Impact of lockdown and COVID-19 is, I think, becoming clearer. It's understood, and its devastating consequences. And it's important that we take that responsibilities as individuals to make sure that we keep everyone safe. I believe that in the recent months, recent days, we were all kind of worried, we were quite anxious, and we were quite afraid that we might catch the virus, that we might kind of miss out on our work. Some of us have found ourselves in situations where possibly we have kind of lost income due to really helpful in managing some of these emotions while we're in the lockdown. So the first thing that I thought about is looking at noticing good things in life. So just taking that minute, that moment to go back and look at what sort of things am I grateful for today. So each morning, wake up and kind of grab a diary, grab a journal, and just kind of list one or two things that you are quite grateful for today. I think you'd agree also with me that it's quite easy to look at things that are not going so well when you are in a crisis, when you're actually kind of hearing a lot of sad news. So as a prompt really to kind of appreciate and being able to be grateful of certain things that are happening in your life is quite a key thing. Another thing is really looking at things that I've done well this week. I think I kind of find out that it's something that kind of gives me that little bit of motivation. With that, it's quite important that you don't really become too harsh to yourself, because you might look at, oh, I haven't done much this week, but simple things like chores, simple things like being able to kind of wake up and do a few preparations for the family, preparations for yourself, making that phone call, they're quite important things when we are finding that we are getting overwhelmed at times. So that's quite important to kind of take that photo album, take out that digital album and look at it and enjoy the memories that are quite good, that you experienced before, in kind of bringing yourself to a moment where you appreciate and look at things at a positive light. The second thing really is trying to kind of improve your problem solving skills. So I think this is quite important, because the more you go to a default of looking at things in a negative light, that really does have an impact on your well-being, your mood, and before you know, there might be kind of a further deterioration in how you are coping. So it's quite important that you look at problem solving as a skill. One of the things that I tend to do, or that I'll probably encourage some of us to do, is to kind of look at what sort of things are causing stress in my life, what sort of things are stressing me at the moment, and then kind of list them, and also try and work out what you are able to address here and now, and what you can kind of postpone and leave a little bit later. And also look also in terms of what are your strategies really in addressing those stress factors. Sometimes we tend to go into a default where we use unhealthy strategies, and it does take an intentional thinking to activate the kind of the positive strategies in coping with any of the challenges that we are experiencing. Also, what I also found quite useful is the ability to actually set and achieve goals, and that kind of helps us in kind of really taking any action. Really, the more we kind of see it not making any goals, the more we start thinking we don't really have anything to look forward to, and everything else that we think about, it's more about going out in the community and being able to do those things. So think about, as an individual, what goals can you put in place. So it might be simple things like, really, for youngsters and teenagers, is thinking about, what does my week look like. Okay, there's work, there's college, and after that, what am I going to do in terms of distressing? What am I going to do in terms of keeping my mental health in a positive light? So it might be you come back, you tune yourself to YouTube, you do kind of a dance session. It might mean that you come back from your studies, your work, you start doing a bit of some gaming, and of course, some of these things you just need to kind of spend reasonable time on them, so that it doesn't kind of become overwhelming and gives you a challenge where you stop doing you're doing other things that are meaningful in your life. So it's quite important that you look at that. So I would also look at, in terms of activities that are quite pleasurable, that you really quite enjoy when you're doing. Also think about activities that brings a sense of achievement, where you get that feeling to say, really, I did something that was really good, that is really important, and I have this sense of achieving. So think about in those lines, and also, of course, think about any kind of physical and social activities. So you might just decide to go for a walk, if you can, within a local area. You might also utilize the back garden as well, just to get that fresh air, and hopefully that helps with your mental health well-being whilst you're at home. Also think about how you do things like relaxation. It's something that can be really helpful. I found myself just kind of integrating that, so simple things like deep breathing with my gadgets, my phone, kind of go through on an app where I take a deep breath. It guides me how to do that. Sometimes I do kind of a count up to 4 as I deep breathe in, hold as I count to 7, and 9 is count it 9 as I breathe out. So something that I found quite helpful when I find myself feeling quite overwhelmed. So it's something that I've now kind of integrated morning, afternoon, and evening as a way to kind of relax myself. And of course, it's quite important to make sure that you make these goals smart. It's something that's kind of measurable. You can actually measure that, this is what I'm going to do, and this is how long I'm going to do it. And you have to be specific in what you want to be actually doing, and of course, it has to be achievable. So I know that there may be limitations in doing some of the things or some of the activities that you might be wanting to do, but just keep it small, scale it down, and make sure that that's achievable. One of the other things that I've also found quite useful is my dietary intake. So that has been a challenge because I think I've gone through phases where I've been kind of overeating, not eating that much. But I think it is important that we look at how we are doing when it comes to eating. So healthy eating is quite important, and also making sure that we are having adequate fluid intake. It's quite essential. It's quite important. Make sure that we don't kind of find ourselves binging or not restricting food. So look at how you can change one or two things when it comes to your dietary intake and healthy eating. Something that may be helpful is kind of getting out a weekly calendar out and just kind of doing your food and meal planners, and just kind of think ahead in terms of what you be having for the week. The importance of this is it's introducing a distraction where you find your mind quite active in doing one or two things and focusing and concentrating on planning this meal. That just takes your mind away from the negative things that are happening out there. The fact that we are still in lockdown, so find a distraction through your meal planning. Sleep is quite good because at times this gets affected when we start worrying a lot, when we start to feel overwhelmed. It is important that we do get enough sleep, we sleep properly. Hopefully that improves also our mental health and well-being. So it's really thinking about sleep hygiene routine. So some of the activities that you're going to do that will help you getting into the zone of relaxing and getting to sleep. And some people will enjoy maybe an evening walk, come back and jump into the shower. They can do the nice kind of lavender salt bath and all that to try and relax themselves. And people also do different things in terms of music as a way of relaxing themselves before they get to sleep. And also reading a book is quite helpful. If you can, try and avoid screens, is that is kind of known to kind of stimulate yourself and kind of affect your ability to kind of settle and sleep. One other thing that I found also important and quite interesting is just time to yourself, or time to myself as as a self-soothing an activity, and thinking about how I build self-love each day. It's more about myself and I, and making sure that I try and improve my well-being. So some of the things that I found myself doing is, doing mindfulness, kind of doing that exercise where I look at, okay, there's a lot of things that's happening in the world. There's COVID-19, and acknowledging some of the emotions that is been brought out that has affected how I feel about things, and then look at the actual positive, real here and now, in terms of how I'm grateful about certain things. So that's quite key. And I've found myself doing a lot of things like puzzles. I've found using my time to do kind of Rubik cubes, and also playing chess sometimes as activities that helps me to distract myself from what's really going on. So think about how you can kind of build some of these activities as a way to improve your health and well-being. Use some of the strategies that have helped to kind of regulate my emotions. So kind of looked at the five senses, the seeing, the hearing, the taste, the touch, as a way of kind of regulating how I feel about things. And with that, I have tried to kind of ground myself and just bring myself to here and now, at the same time acknowledging the emotions that are going on. So the first thing that I've done, I've been doing this 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 grounding skill, where in that moment I start kind of scanning the room, looking at 5 things that I can see, kind of describe them in shape, size, color, and until I kind of get really bored, basically. I then go to things that I can physically touch, and kind of paying attention to how the texture and the feel is with that. And the intention really is try and kind of distract my mind in some of these things that are quite stressful. I've gone to, things that I can feel. So physiologically, what sort of feel am I getting? Am I in any discomfort? And if I am, try and kind of remedy that as a way of kind of bring my mood back to a reasonable feel. And I've gone to kind of also use cold drinks, hot drinks as a way to kind of regulate how I feel, and also to regulate the 5 senses when I do get overwhelmed. I have gone on to distract myself by actually joining family members who are actually doing things. I have also picked up a phone call, speak to a friend. I've picked up a phone call, speak to my GP if there is 1 or 2 things that I need help with. So that's something that I've found quite useful. And another thing that I've also found, and this is quite a tip that often used in kind of DBT skills, I've looked at how I can kind of regulate my body temperature. So simple activity like getting a few ice cubes, put it in a hand washing basin, open a few cold water, and just kind of splashing that to my face. That kind of helps me in some way to kind of distract myself. I've also thought about kind of an intense exercise that I can do. So kind of use the back garden space. I've gone for a 5-10 minute walk as a way of kind of regulating my emotional response to what's happening. I have also done a bit of some deep breathing. So kind of sat down, headphones on, music on, or different sounds playing through there, and I have managed to kind of breathe in, hold the breath, and breathe out. Sometimes I'm doing that, counting up to 4, hold up to 7, and breathe out at 8. So as a way of kind of bring myself to a better mental well-being. And also I have done a few kind of progressed muscle relaxant or muscle relaxation, which I've kind of done a kind of a complete body scan, from the toes to the top of the head to the face, really kind of clenching muscles and relaxing, clenching and muscles and relaxing. It has worked for me sometimes, and it has helped me to kind of distract myself to what's really happening around me. Another thing that's quite important is how we connect or reconnect with our kind of social skills. Again, walks as an individual does work. You can do that as families as well, and you can do a kind of a indoor activity, a complete video workout, and there's a lot of programs out there that you can use as part of that. You can also start doing some stuff around your schoolwork. You can also try and create quiz for the family. You can do board games for the family as well, and friends. And you can do some of the stuff on the computer, things like playing chess, which is quite useful. I think what's also important is to ensure that we continue to develop that positive mind thinking, because it all starts with a perception, isn't it? I suppose these few tips may not really work when you're already in a crisis. Often I talk about 3 states of mind, where you have your emotional mind, and you've got your rational mind, and it's quite important that you take notice of the two. And in most times, we pretty much in a wise mind, where we have quite a good overview in terms of what's going on in our life, and the emotional responses that are coming out as a result of that. And with our wise mind, we are in a position where we can rationalize, we can strategize, we can come up with a plan to resolve that, and we do successfully respond appropriately to some of the distress that's happening in our lives. So before I go, so it is important that we take notice of good things in our lives, so that we don't continue to major on negative things. Develop our problem-solving skills. Let's make sure that we are setting goals, and make sure that we are taking action on achieving those goals. Let's make sure we're eating healthy. We are sleeping. We are creating time to kind of self-soothe, and we are also creating a bucket list of things. Once we come out of lockdown, how we're going to manage with that, and take time to spend time with family, those who are able to do that. And we can use a lot of virtual platforms for us to reach out to family. So I hope you find this quite helpful, quite useful. So thank you for your time. Thanks to the Positive Vibes and your team for asking me to come out and do this real quick. I'm aware it has taken half an hour, but stay safe, stay at home, and make sure you're following the COVID-19 guidelines.